Who's there? Huh? Sammy, what are you doing here? You were going to sleep.
I can't sleep. What are you doing here?
I want to read a book I loved when I was a kid. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
I haven't heard of it.
Do you want me to read to you?
Can you?
Sure. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank and of having nothing to do. Suddenly, a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her. She ran across the field after it, and it was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge.
And Alice jumped after it?
Yep. The rabbit hole went straight on like a tunnel for some way and then dipped suddenly down, so suddenly that Alice found herself falling down what seemed to be a very deep well.
What was on the very bottom?
Alice found a large room, and in there she found this bottle.
And she drank it?
Yeah, and she suddenly became really small.
And what did she do?
She found this cake, ate it, and became really big.
Oh, no!
Alice was so upset, she cried a whole pool of tears. But then she found a fan the white rabbit dropped. The fan helped her get smaller. That was a narrow escape, said Alice. As she said these words, her foot slipped, and in another moment, she was up to her chin in salt water, the pool of tears that she had wept when she was 9 feet high.
But did she successfully reach the shore?
Yes. And then the white rabbit came back and told her to get his gloves and a fan. He lost them. So Alice went in the direction shown. She came upon a neat little house, on which was a bright brass plate with the name W. Rabbit. She went in and found her way into a tidy little room with a table in the window, and on it a fan and tiny white kid gloves.
And she found the same bottle again.
Yes, she found a bottle, took a sip, and became huge. Still, she went on growing, and as a last resource, put one arm out of the window and one foot up the chimney.
And what did she eat to not become small, huh?
The rabbit himself poured pebbles into the house, and they turned into cakes. She ate them and became small, and ran into the forest where she found a strange mushroom. She stretched herself on tiptoe and peeped over the edge of the mushroom. And her eyes immediately met those of a large blue caterpillar, quietly smoking a long hookah.
Oh, the caterpillar must have given Alice good advice.
Right, Sammy. One side will make you grow taller, and the other side will make you grow shorter.
Huh?
Mushroom, Sammy, the sides of a mushroom. Alice started to experiment with the mushroom pieces. One made her really small, and the other piece made her neck really long. But eventually, Alice managed to reach mushroom pieces and become her usual size. She came upon an open place with a little house in it about 4 feet high.
Oh, they look like a fish and a frog.
Suddenly, a footman came running out of the wood and rapped loudly at the door. It was opened by another footman. For the Duchess, an invitation from the Queen to play croquet. When the footman left, Alice entered the house. The door led right into a large kitchen which was full of smoke. The Duchess was sitting on a stool, nursing a baby. The cook was leaning over the fire, stirring a large cauldron, which seemed to be full of soup. There's certainly too much pepper in that soup, said Alice.
Achoo!
Yes, they were all sneezing too. Too much pepper in the air.
But the cat isn't sneezing, it's smiling.
It's a Cheshire cat. The cook finished making the soup and started throwing kitchenware.
Uh-oh, I hope nobody got hurt.
Alice was scared for the baby, and the Duchess gave it to her. Alice caught the baby with some difficulty. She carried it out into the open air.
The baby turned into a piglet!
Yes, a cute little piglet, so Alice just let it go. And then she noticed the Cheshire Cat on a tree. The cat told her to go either in the direction of the Match Hare or the Hatter. First, the cat himself disappeared, and only then his smile.
I'd love to see that.
Alice came to the house of the March Hare. There was a table set out under a tree in front of the house, and the March Hare and the Hatter were having tea at it. A dormouse was sitting between them, fast asleep.
Alice joined them, right? Who would refuse such a tea party?
Yes. However, they weren't a very welcoming company. So she got up and left. The last time she saw them, they were trying to put the dormouse into the teapot. However, soon she came to a beautiful garden. A large rose tree stood near the entrance of the garden. The roses growing on it were white, but there were gardeners at it busily painting them red.
They were repainting roses, but why?
Alice asked just that. It turned out that they were ordered by the queen to grow red roses, but made a mistake. If the queen learns about it, she'll cut their heads off.
What a severe queen.
That's when the Queen of Hearts came.
Was Alice scared?
Alice wasn't scared, because they were just some playing cards.
And what did the queen do?
She wanted to cut Alice's head off, but instead, she invited her to play croquet.
What a weird game.
Alice thought she had never seen such a curious croquet ground in her life. The croquet balls were live hedgehogs, and the mallets were live flamingos.
Curiouser and curiouser.
The soldiers had to double themselves up and stand on their hands and feet to make the arches. Alice felt uncomfortable, but then the Cheshire Cat's smile appeared. "How are you getting on?" said the cat. Then the cat's head appeared. Alice was eager to tell the cat what was going on. "I don't think they play it all fairly," Alice began. "And they all quarrel so dreadfully. One can't hear oneself speak." After that, the cat's head disappeared and the queen called Alice to continue the game. All the time they were playing, the queen never left off quarreling with the other players and shouting, "Off with his head!" or "Off with her head!"
There won't be any players left.
Don't worry, Sammy. As soon as the game was over, the king pardoned everyone.
Phew, that's good.
And the queen called Alice to meet the mock turtle. Then, very soon, came upon a griffin lying fast asleep in the sun. "Up, lazy thing," said the queen, "and take this young lady to see the mock turtle."
The mock turtle?
Yes, here he is.
He's so sad.
Yes, but he showed Alice a dance, Lobster Quadrille, and sang a sad song. Then it was time for Alice to go to the court.
It doesn't look much like a courtroom. Who are they judging?
The King and Queen of Hearts were seated on their throne with a great crowd assembled around them. The knave was standing before them in chains, and near the king was the White Rabbit, with a trumpet in one hand and a scroll in the other.
What was the knave's crime?
The White Rabbit read the charge. The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts, all on a summer day. The Knave of Hearts, he stole those tarts and took them quite away.
There had to be witnesses.
Yes, the first witness was the Hatter, but he couldn't say anything. The second witness was Alice, but she grew up a bit while she was sitting in the court. She jumped up in such a hurry that she tipped over the jury box, upsetting all the jurymen. However, Alice had her own idea of how the courts should go, so she argued with the queen. "Off with her head!" the queen shouted. Nobody moved. "Who cares for you?" said Alice. She had grown to her full size by this time. "You're nothing but a pack of cards." At this time, the whole pack rose up into the air and came flying down upon her. She gave a little scream and tried to beat them off, and found herself lying with her head in the lap of her sister, who was gently brushing away some leaves that had fluttered down upon her face.
It was just a dream.
Perhaps, but it was quite an unusual dream, right?
Yes, I wish I had a dream like that.